really my vision for academic technologies is that students and faculty have access to the kind of technology that's going to make them most effective in their learning, and that the university includes that as the basic portfolio of what we provide to students. And that's changing radically over the last several years. Most of our education now is mediated either directly through online instruction and online classes, or it has online resources that students are expected to use. So our big challenge at UNM is keeping up with that, because the pedagogy has changed so quickly. And so frankly, it's keeping up with the kind of pedagogy that our students demand. At UNM, I would say that we are sort of on the following edge. We're not the worst of universities, we're not the best of universities, we're somewhere in between. But I think that the state of the academic technology is a bit fragmented right now, and that if we could pool our resources and leverage them much more deliberately, we could go a little bit farther with the current dollars we do have. Everybody knows money's very tight, so I don't think we're going to be the bleeding edge of technology, but as long as we can keep up at a relatively reasonable pace and have the recurring funding lines available so that the funding is predictable and we know what we can do in any given year, and are constantly expanding the base of technology that we offer to our students. One of the biggest issues for students is wireless technology. Again, everything is mediated through online, and so when students come to campus, they expect ubiquitous wireless. They expect it to be everywhere. You know, whether it's at the duck pond, sitting because they're studying and they're looking things up, whether it's at the sub or the library or commons areas or in our pods, they expect wireless to be there because they have to use the wireless to do their work. And increasingly, faculty expect wireless in the classroom. So clearly with a campus that has been built up, like many, over the last 100 and some years, our original buildings, including this one, are not very conducive to wireless. And so the cost of upgrading to get sufficient wireless in classes is quite an expense. In fact, we've estimated about $5 million would be needed to blanket the campus with the kind of wireless we think we need. Another example is power. Students are bringing these to class, and they're using them from the time they get here to the time they go home, which means even the best laptop requires a couple of charges. And we just had not incorporated that into our thinking and our planning of buildings. 25 years ago, who would have thought? Students came with paper and pencil. Now they're coming with at least one device, and chances are 2 or 3.
The laptop I use is a Dell, and my phone is a smartphone Android.
I use an iPhone 5 for my phone, an iPad new generation for my tablet, and a Dell Inspiron desktop.
I have a Mac laptop, Android phone.
I have an Android phone and a Windows laptop. It's an HP.
I have an iPhone and I have a PC laptop.
Well, I have an iPhone right here. I use my laptop here on campus. It's an HP. Pretty much it.
At the moment, I have 4 devices right now. I have a small tablet I'm testing out, I have this, and I have 2 cell phones. So students are coming with lots of devices, and we simply don't have that basic infrastructure. So we've got to reorient really how we think about building buildings. And IT's been involved with that for the past 3 or 4 years to say, no, it's not sufficient to have desks and a board up front. We really have to have the internet connectivity, we have to have the power. Faculty want to stream online resources into their classroom, which means that we also need video. So, and classes are getting increasingly collaborative. So faculty want students to work in small groups around a laptop to be able to share that work, to have the students share what that group has done up in the projector. So it is all mediated by technology in many classes. I can't say this is every class, but more and more we are seeing faculty say the number one thing I need in my class is effective computing.
We use it for 2 things. What are the 2 variables that we adjust when you aggregate planning? My name is Kiscaden, and I am part-time faculty at the Anderson Schools of Management teaching operations management, and then I'm also part-time faculty at UNM Los Alamos teaching CS 150. Additionally, I work for UNM IT as manager of multimedia services. So I integrate technology into my teaching in a few different ways. I use cloud-based storage for all of my student-based files for easy access on various devices, laptop, mobile phones. I also integrate our online course modules from our textbook manufacturers to make everything electronic. It helps with immediate feedback for students with all their graded assignment work, and then it also gives them in-depth tutorials provided by myself and the book manufacturer to help them learn a concept. And upcoming for the future semester, I'm going to do in my in-person classes, I'm going to do the iClickers so that I can even give more immediate feedback to help students learn core concepts in the operations world. So in my classes, up until this point, so I've been teaching for about 7 years now, I've experienced everything from iPad Mini, just recently Microsoft Surface Pros. I've also had some Android tablets, but the primary device I would say is a laptop, and I have probably a 50-50 split of both Mac users and PC users. So it's been pretty good that I have products that are flexible that work on both platforms.
Part of my strategic plan is really taking away any technical barriers that students have to course completion. I think that's the role of IT. And part of that we do through what we talked about, which was enabling the faculty and the staff to do their jobs better. Whether it's putting in a new package in enrollment management that allows students to waitlist their classes, whether it's helping the bursar get a little more streamlined in online payments. Those are the things that IT has historically done. But I think there is also a huge role for IT right now in terms of helping students navigate the maze, which sometimes higher education can be. And by this I mean that we have been a collection of departments all trying to help students, but IT can act as a very successful facilitator. So for example, letting enrollment management who register students know that the way they do that is causing a problem for housing, because they get a lot of applicants that never come because of they pass on the accepts, they don't have a commitment yet from students, and so those two departments aren't seeing necessarily the same picture. So IT in its administrative system support has started sort of raising the view up and trying to see really between departments, how can we present a more seamless experience for students so that it's not confusing. When they come to point A, they know what point B and C and D is, they understand the dependencies, they understand the implications based on the options they pick. And that's something that frankly many large organizations don't do now because everything is very departmental focused. So as an example, we're creating what we're going to call a student landing page on the web. That is not a department-specific landing page, but it's a landing page for students. So it's not organized by departments, it's organized by what students need to do, A to Z, in order to get what they need at the university. So that's one facet, which is making the information we have a little more seamless and a little more accessible to students. The other piece, I think, is that we need to give the students planning tools. Right now, if you come in cold off the street and maybe you're not sure about what degree you want, which frankly typifies most of our students, how do we get some help to students that say, well, these kind of jobs pay this much and require this kind of preparation. These kind of jobs, actually, you could do well at CNM in pursuing that kind of a job. But those sort of self-help tools, even before a student comes, it says, what do I want to do here? And once I decide, what's the most expeditious way to get there, so that they know when they get out, you're likely to get a job that starts at $75K or $50K. Your debt load is going to be this. How long is it going to take to pay? Okay, you've worked through that scenario. Does that make sense? Would you rather go for something that you think is going to be a starting of, $90K and spend another couple of years? These kinds of decisions that face students really they don't have the tools to properly answer it themselves. They're not financial experts. They don't know how long one degree is going to take versus another. So I think we need to help students get themselves pointed in the right direction, and then I think we need to help them do the longer term planning, not just what am I going to take next semester, but really, if this is your choice next semester, what does that allow you to take the following semester and the following semester, so that the actual whole degree program could be mapped out effectively, not only based on getting the student through, but based on the fact that, oh my goodness, we only offer that class every spring. We don't offer it fall and spring. These are things that surprise students because we just do things a semester at a time. So I think IT can help put those tools in students' hands and then work with our back office so that we're slowly expanding our planning time frame. And so when a student is in the middle of semester one, year one at school, for those that are decided, they know exactly what they have to take for the next 8 years. And they see that if they miss one thing, they can run through the scenario and go, oh, if I drop this class now, that's going to set me back a full year for graduation. And we might have some different decisions made as students do that. And what ties to that actually is working with the faculty to ensure that students throughout the course of the semester get feedback. This is one thing the student survey emphasized quite a bit, is that faculty don't always tell students where they stand. And so if you're sitting 2 days before a drop, where you know you could drop with a withdrawal pass, or you're going to end up with a withdrawal failure, it's critical that you know exactly in that moment what is your cumulative grade, and frankly, what would happen if you got a B on the next test, or an A on the next test, or a C? What would that do to your GPA? And really allow students those kinds of tools to, I don't want to say play the system, but manage their experience so that every step and every decision that they make, they can really see the consequences, not just for this semester, but for their whole program. And I think there are many schools that are starting to develop some of these tools. And I think that's where I'd like to focus. Once we get our landing page and we have a better presence, I'd like to focus on really developing some of those tool sets that would enable the student, not we need a legion more of advisors, but really give the students the data that they need. And there are lots of good websites out there, lots of good self-help, that if we just packaged it properly and laid a few tools on top, I think IT can make a huge difference in terms of on-time graduation.